Insane transformations, huge motion values, incredible buffs. 4-cost echoes are some of the biggest power boosts that you can add to your team compositions. When used properly, they can add a huge amount of damage to your rotations and allow your teams to reach their highest possible DPS. As one of the easiest echoes to acquire, dropping from bosses with an unlimited respawn and 2-count pity, players are highly recommended to farm and slot these echo skills onto their DPS characters to get the best results. Unfortunately, 4-cost echoes, in a lot of cases, can be difficult to use properly. While their damage and buffs appear fantastic on paper, in practice, their use can oftentimes reduce your overall performance. When we factor in how every single character should have a 4-cost echo, given the incredible stat bonuses they provide, players might feel like they're the only echo skill that they should use. They're a tool that has a lot of potential, but also a lot of downsides. Today we'll be going over why this is the case, breaking down which 4-cost echo skills have some glaring issues in their design, what alternatives might serve better, and which 4-cost echo skills are universally fantastic for any use on any and every team. 4-cost echo skills have a huge variety of effects and buffs. A majority of them will transform the character for a set period of time as they unleash attacks from a boss's moveset. All of these transformative echoes apply a buff to the on-field character, which enhances damage from the boss's attribute and their damage bonus across the 4 separate types. The biggest differentiator in the power of a 4-cost echo skill is how these buffs activate. Some echo buffs are absolutely effortless, like the Morning Ikes or Crownless. All a player has to do is activate the echo skill to receive the full buffs. You can even dodge cancel out of the entire damaging piece and still receive all of the buffs. This makes rotations a lot more smooth when using these echoes. If you need to dodge an attack, you can, and there's no downside at all other than missing some of the echo skill's damage. On the other hand, there are many 4-cost echo skills that are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Many echo skills have a buff that only triggers on the final hit of an echo skill's attack chain. For some echoes, like the Tempest Mephis or the Gorilla, these aren't impacted too much by this restriction, primarily due to the fact that their attack chains only have 2 hits and can be easily swap cancelled mid-animation to streamline your rotations. Other 4-cost echoes, well, they just feel worse to use. One echo skill in particular that feels a bit clunky in combat is Inferno Rider. As the only 4-cost echo that boosts fusion damage with incredible motion values as well, this echo skill feels like a natural slot in for Chang Li. The problem occurs in actual gameplay. Chang Li's gameplay revolves around fast rotations and constant cycling through her moveset to activate her Forte Circuit's huge payoff. This echo skill basically roots you in place for 2 seconds. And while the final hit can be swap cancelled, the startup phase is easily one of the worst out of all the 4-cost echoes, and the incredibly long animation on the 3rd hit makes it almost mandatory to swap cancel the move unless you like taking damage. Weaving this echo skill into your combos takes a huge toll on how fast you can generate your Forte Circuit. When you factor in how Inferno Rider only buffs basic attack damage on top of its fusion bonus, you have an echo skill that, in all honesty, can feel like it's more trouble than it's worth activating. Many players might find it more beneficial to use a summon-based echo like the Virid Blaze Saurian or Lava Larva instead. While these echoes undoubtedly deal less damage and apply less buffs than Inferno Rider, they dramatically decrease both the rotation time and the difficulty of playing a character like Chang Li, as these echoes can simply be used mid-rotation with no interruptions at all. If you're finding that your character feels too exposed or your rotations aren't as smooth weaving in the 4-cost's lengthy echo skill, a summon might be worth using. Another echo with this issue is the Lampy Lumen Myriad, though nobody really talks about this echo at all, primarily due to the fact that Ling Yang, a character nobody really talks about, is the only one who uses this echo. The biggest offender when it comes to awful 4-cost echo skills is without a doubt the Thundering Mephis. This echo skill, in a lot of circumstances, is absolutely unusable across the endgame. While possessing some of the best motion values across 4-cost echo skills and a lot of hits, these hits take a massive amount of time to actually land, and with its buff to Electro and Resonance Liberation damage only taking place on the final hit, these delays combined with the echo skill's impressive ability to miss enemies makes it one of the most unreliable echo skills in the game. So unreliable, in fact, that it's recommended to use the Tempest Mephis even if the character doesn't benefit from heavy attack damage, like on Calcharo. Fortunately, we've already seen that Kuro is actively expanding the 4-cost Echo portfolio. Jue, released in 1.1, is one of the smoothest to use Echo skills in the game, requiring no actual field time or cast time to get its full benefits, at the cost of slightly weaker buffs. Expanding these options across our DPS Sonata sets is absolutely fantastic, and I have no doubt in my mind characters like Chang Li and Calcharo might be getting some upgrades in the future that will mesh better with their kits. While we've taken a critical view on many of the 4-cost Echo skills in this game, this critique wouldn't make a lot of sense unless we point out the best performers on the other end of the spectrum. There are some 4-cost Echoes that are simply fantastic, from on-field gameplay to the actual impact they have on your team. The Bellborn Geochalone is likely the best Echo skill in the game, equipped with a near-instant cast animation, damage reduction, and damage amplification. It can be argued that this Echo skill should be on every single team. The only downside to this Echo skill is that the wielder has to be on the ground to activate it, and this restriction is typically only a problem for Verena. Otherwise, there's almost no downside at all to it, other than the fact that it deals Glacio damage and scales with defense, when there are no Glacio defense scalers in the game. Another Echo skill that should see universal use is the Impermanence Heron. This Echo skill, found only on the Moonlit Cloud set, heavily buffs the wielder's outro skill by granting the incoming Resonator an additional 12% damage bonus and can restore Resonance energy to the wielder. With the ability to ground slam or fly in the air while breathing down fire, activating this set takes almost no effort at all, and works incredibly well when used at the end of any sub-DPS character's rotation to buff your main DPS. The main factor that makes these Echoes great is ease of use. With fast cast time and simple activation conditions, these Echoes feel like they add to your rotations and add to your team without taking up unnecessary time. Overall, 4-cost Echoes in Wuthering Waves should be a part of every single character build, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need a 4-cost Echo skill on every character. Many of these Echo skills, despite their relatively high damage and great personal buffs, can have a cost beyond their cooldown to activate. Some of these Echo skills have a lot of downsides mitigated through swap canceling, while others require far more inputs and time to get the same results. Hopefully this overview was helpful in highlighting why some Echo skills just feel worse than others, and why they feel bad. It's very likely that we'll be seeing some new 4-costs in the future across all of the Sonata sets. So if you feel like your characters are lacking some synergies with their signature Echo skills, my advice for you is to just have some patience. Peace out.